My name is Jeffrey Porter with StockIQ Technologies, Chief Marketing Officer. I'm here to present a short presentation, a demonstration of the StockIQ planning application. A little bit of an orientation to some of the software's capabilities. We're very focused in on all components of the supply chain planning that support an S&OP process. Demand planning, replenishment planning in the form of purchase orders, work orders, and transfers. Supplier planning, this gets into measuring your vendors, their overall performance. Inventory planning, it's around the reporting of our inventory, identifying exactly how much inventory we should be maintaining in each one of our stocking locations. And lastly, promotion planning. For our clients that are in the food and beverage business that live and die by promotions, this provides an easy way for us to incorporate lift into the forecast with those promotion plans. So with that, I'm going to take you over into the software. StockIQ is a browser-based application. This is running in Chrome, but it's available in any of the popular browsers. We interact with the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central platform by importing information like the item master, all open supply, on-hand balances. The output coming out from the system comes in the form of a recommendation for a supply order, be it a purchase, be it a transfer, and or a work order. You're looking at the home screen right now for StockIQ. This is a summary where we can discern and evaluate how we're performing as a company. For instance, how much inventory do we have on hand? What's our current inventory position of all of that on hand? Where do we have excess, out of stock, below panic points, etc.? You'll also notice that we're categorizing our inventory over here. Very important when it comes to evaluating the performance and how our individual SKUs behave. Are they recurring, sporadic, slow, or dead? You'll also notice over here some additional tabs. These are alerts. These alert-based systems provides us with the ability to evaluate those items that need our attention. Some of our favorite ones, projected available, leading indicator on those items that are projected to be out of stock inside of lead time. One other note over here on the inventory KPIs, and we'll just go there right now, we do provide a lot of reporting based on this information. On the inventory section, I had noted the ability to report on that. This right in here is all of our current stock outs. This report out here, we can do a lot of different things like sort and filter. We can add additional pieces of information to this chart. So for instance, StockIQ is a fully hierarchical planning system. This allows us to begin organizing data in a lot of different fashion. At the core of the system is our forecasting. The forecasting, we will generate a forecast for a SKU for every one of your stocking locations. If you're in a multiple distribution center kind of a location, we can also forecast down to the individual customer level. Kind of a little bit of a foundation on how we forecast. It's by looking back at history. So in this chart, the green represents my sales history. We're pulling in 3 years. With that information, we're going to develop 3 primary things. What's the overall trend? How's the product doing? What about seasonality? Do we see seasonality on this product? And indeed we do. When we combine that information with the statistical algorithm, we're going to generate ourselves a forecast moving forward. That forecast, you can do any horizon that you would like. We tend to focus in on about 2 years. One other piece of information that's discerned in here, and it's our confidence within the forecast. This gives us the ability to precisely identify exactly how much stock needs to be maintained on each and every item at each and every location, and it's based on your target service objective. One additional item out in here, we are fully compliant when it comes to a hierarchical planning system. So it's a top-down, bottom-up, middle-out type forecasting. What this basically means is we have the ability to come out and evaluate and modify and change a forecast at any level. So for instance, if I want to put a 35% lift in on this SKU for this period, that is incorporated directly into my forecast. All right, so we talked a little bit about service level. This is kind of at the heart of the system, which is when we begin looking at all of our SKUs, how do we categorize them and how do we want them to perform? Oftentimes, these are expressed in A, B, C, D categories. What you'll note out in here is these are my A items with X. X can be associated with coefficient of variance. It can also be associated with the type of product that they are. These are all my products that fall into that A category. These are going to get a 99% service level. So at the end of the day, what we're focused on doing, we have a forecast. We know what our safety stock is. We're going to generate orders. This is the order planner. In here, it will be a list of recommendations of every vendor that needs to be purchased from. Potentially if we're doing transfers, those transfers that need to come out of other warehouses. And if I'm in the manufacturing, we're going to generate an MRP plan for all of those items and the associated work orders. We're going to start with the vendor over here. It's a step approach, which allows us to get in ultimately to the recommendations. These are the recommended orders for all of the individual SKUs at all my locations for the single vendor. You'll note that we suggest an order quantity out in here. There's a lot of information available around that individual product by clicking in and highlighting that item. So for instance, basic details around the product. What's my forecast for that product? I can look at the individual order schedule if I want. This is basically a view of the MRP or DRP plan for this item, where we're combining all of the demand, supply, and the planning with ultimately a projected inventory position. As we move our way through here, we have the ability to do special things like fill up to a container. We can optimize that order for a dollar amount, a cube amount, etc. Next step in the process, we're going to confirm that we've met all those order validations. We can then move this through a bit of workflow if we'd like. Next step in the process, we're going to assign order numbers, and when we click place order, this gets published into Business Central where it's ready to be executed. So that's the ordering process. Now, in all of that, one of the things that we're doing is we are generating a projection of what our inventory positions are. Another one of the sample reports. Very, very helpful when it gets into S&OP planning. For instance, just right in here, I am organizing this by my various hierarchies. My various hierarchies is how I have organized my data within the system. So for instance, for my fictitious audio store here, I'm going to organize all of these SKUs underneath product categories. This would represent all of the sales for my camera and camcorders. I can furthermore do subcategories. So we have the ability to do up to 5 levels. So when we begin looking, for instance, on the on-hand detail, I have the ability to come out and filter down and say, well, maybe what I'd like to do is I would like to look at product categories. I would like to know where my projected inventory position is for all of my cameras and camcorders. This right in here is my projected inventory position based on everything that's on order, the forecasted demand out over time. So this information is quite helpful for us in that we have the ability to go out and generate cash flow projections, understand what our cash needs will be. So a powerful tool. Vendor scorecards. This is all about measuring our vendors. So we can bring the individual vendors in, look at all of the receipts. We can actually go out and look at a histogram. How do they actually perform? Are they late? Are they early? This helps us ensure that we have product and sizing the safety stock to accommodate for both demand and supply variability. Lastly, we talked about alerts. This is really what drives action within the system. This is all about giving your planners insight with regards to what needs actioned on. These can be filtered, they can be prioritized, and ultimately acted on and or paused. That's a high-level view of StockIQ, and we look forward to engaging you at a later date. Thank you very much.